Senior oil executives appearing before the US Congress deny deliberately misleading the world about the dangers of climate change. Senior oil executives have denied that their companies deliberately misled the world about climate change. In testimony to a US congressional committee, they said their understanding of global warming had developed over time. ExxonMobil, Chevron and Shell were asked for a commitment not to spend money opposing efforts to tackle climate change. Here's the CEO of BP America responding.
What I would say is that we have stopped all reputational advertising at BP.
Well, will you take the pledge? I know that you've taken steps in the right direction. I heard that in your testimony. Thank you. Will you take the pledge, yes or no?
Well, for your specific pledge, what we're pledging to do is advocate for low-carbon policies that do, in fact, take the company and the world to net zero. That's the pledge I'm willing to commit to.
Well, I'm asking if you'll stop spending money either directly or indirectly to oppose efforts to reduce emissions and address climate change. Just stop spending money.
Madam Chair.
That's on lies.
Time.
Okay, I take that you don't want to take the pledge. All right.
Well, Dr. Jeffrey Supran is a research fellow at Harvard University who co-authored a key study of Exxon's communications on the climate crisis. He's in Cambridge, Massachusetts, and joins us now. Thanks very much for joining us. So tell me what you make of what you've been hearing today.
Well, all told, what we saw on display today from the oil executives was an awful lot of tap dancing and, frankly, a couple outright lies. In the space of just a few hours, the CEOs worked to A, deny their past and present wrongdoings, B, distract from the investigation with greenwashing, and C, delay by refusing to commit to meaningful action going forward. So what we really learned is that they won't take responsibility for their decades of past propaganda, disinformation, and lobbying, and that they intend to continue down that path.
Well, they talk about their opinions on climate change developing over time, didn't they? That was their reason for the changes.
Yes, that's right. And yet the reality is, for all the green talk, they continue to invest, on average, roughly 1% of their annual budgets on low-carbon technologies. So this is greenwashing 101, talk green, act dirty.
And what about these hearings? What do you make of them? Do they have any real impact? I mean, it's quite a big show, isn't it? And there's lots of tense words and strong language. But do they actually achieve anything?
Well, looking at the history of the tobacco hearings, which many have drawn analogies to in the 1990s, their effect was partly in the documentary evidence uncovered, but also in building political momentum towards further legislation and litigation. So this was a historic moment. For the first time, Americans in the world got to see the CEOs of the world's biggest oil companies struggling to avoid getting tangled in their own web of climate denial. And those testimonies have been entered onto the congressional record and will inform further legislation and litigation. But this is clearly just the beginning. The hearing ended with the issuance of subpoenas, which are basically ratcheting up the legal pressure to force these companies to open up their books to further scrutiny.
And just in terms of the political divide, just explain how big that is. We've really got a split here, haven't we, with the Democrats hoping this will change public opinion and a lot of Republicans very opposed to this.
Yeah, there's a strange poetry that at the very moment this hearing was happening, we have a, frankly, modern-day coal baron in the form of Senator Joe Manchin, who takes something like $500,000 per year from a coal company that his son runs, hamstringing US climate policy. And so the takeaway message from this whole day, this whole process is really that, climate change is not just a technocratic problem about greenhouse gases, it's also a political problem about fossil fuel companies. And the bottleneck to this challenge is no longer technology or policy know-how. It is about loosening the stranglehold of this industry on science-based decision-making and American democracy.
OK, thanks for joining me. Jeffrey Supran there.